Good morning, Jesse. Welcome.
It's morning for us.
Yeah, it's too early for me. Even though I was up at this time yesterday, I just got less sleep today.
I'm up at this time every day, but I don't really say anything until about noon.
Anyway, but welcome to Show and Tell. I'm Dan Gilmore.
I'm Jesse Hughes.
And today we were talking about Spike Jonze's 2003 film, Her.
2003? This was 14.
Oh, yeah. 2013.
13, okay. Was it 13? Oh,
Yeah.
Man, time flies. This was my movie of the year in 2013. I thought it was 2014. I think that's when I watched it.
Maybe.
No, it was 2013 because I was living in New York. Yeah, so this was my movie of the year 2013. I'll let you take it away. I've got a lot of notes on this one, but I'll let you start.
My first note was just that he looks like a nerd.
He does. I love his character in this movie. It's funny that a normal role is very different for him. He's always...
Yeah, very over the top.
Really over the top or quirky or creepy or a bad guy. Or this movie, he's absolutely just normal, a normal guy in this movie.
Olivia Wilde does call him creepy, though.
She does, and I think that's unfair.
I think that's one of those things. She was vulnerable in that movie.
Exactly, yeah. It made sense for her character to say that, but, it just felt like an unfair assessment.
I agree. But we've all been there.
Yeah.
I have that written a few times in this movie. Mm-hmm. I was just like, yeah, well, we've all been there.
My first note is Joaquin Phoenix is a master of his craft, so looking at this opening scene and knowing, after seeing it, that he's narrating one of the letters as this is his job, just watching his face form as the idea forms in his head and knowing what that idea is going to be, he just absolutely nails that character thinking about what he's about to say. And, of course, we all know that, Joaquin Phoenix is amazing. Say what you will about his characters. As an actor, he's absolutely fantastic.
Beautifulhandwrittenletters.com.
Yeah, very original. Everything else was probably taken at this point. If I had to describe the movie in one word, it's charming. And from the very beginning of the movie, throughout the film, every likable character in the film is just charming. Including the operating systems. They're all just absolutely charming.
That's like 2 notes from here. But just the next one, which is play melancholy song.
Yeah. I like the idea of the ability to do that with our phones eventually, because you notice throughout the movie, some people are still glued to their screens, but in Theodore's case, he's able to interact with his smartphone, his computer, without touching anything, sometimes without looking at anything until he wants to see a picture or whatever. And I like the idea that eventually maybe our smart devices will have the ability to 100% recognize what we're saying and process what we want out of it.
And then just the next email was, come out, I missed the fun you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, screw that person. Later you find out he's going through a divorce.
Right.
So I was like, screw her even more.
Yeah, well, she's trying. She's trying to help him.
Yeah, I know, but I think sometimes people try and help you, because I know I've been through depression and stuff.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear people like, oh, I miss the fun you. I don't want to bring out sad Theodore.
It made her sound more like a jerk, though, that the automated voice in his phone was reading it. I miss the fun you. I'm like, well,
video games in the future look pretty dumb. Or at least the controllers.
Yeah, so 2 things. You see the first game, and he's using his fingers to kind of control it, so it's all controlled by your body and your voice. And that's, kind of cool in concept, but the game doesn't look fun. And
I thought, when they show the game the second time.
Yeah.
Then Spike Jonze's alien kid comes out. Yeah. And I was like, this is the best game ever.
Yeah, exactly. He loved the character so much that he would direct some of his scenes in that character. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was
I read that. He was delivering notes as the character.
The writer-director is the character of the alien voice, which is a goofy little kid in the video game. But that game, and then later in the movie, Amy's character, who is Amy, is making a game about moms, which looks like a Facebook game. And I'm going, oh man, the games look terrible in the future.
But no, like I said, it looked awesome, and it was on that cool projector. Mm-hmm. But I was just he's controlling it, just just with his 4 fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, this looks so lame.
This needs to be a video podcast. And the game itself, though, strikes me as an evolution of Zork, the original Zork, because it's like this exploration game, and then you meet this kid that, you have this test, and you have to say the right things to him. That kind of reminds me of Zork. You have to find your own way around this cave and come up with your own verbiage to figure out what's around you and find your way out, I guess, is what he's doing. I'm not sure.
Was that back to his ship? I think
he said. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, back to his ship. So he walks into his apartment, though, before he first starts playing his video game, and Amy, my wife, noticed that there's no dining room table, but he has the chairs arranged in such a way that there could be a table between them. So I thought that was an interesting choice. His furniture throughout the rest of the apartment is the same. He doesn't have a coffee table or anything. He doesn't really have tables, and you never really see him eating in his apartment. So you feel like maybe he eats out, most of the time because he doesn't.
He was eating in the scene where he plays the game.
Was he eating? Okay.
Yeah, he put something in his mouth.
Okay.
I eat at home a lot, and I don't have tables.
But, you mostly live in your room. You have a desk that you can put a bowl. You don't?
I don't.
Or do you put your bowl and your cup and your...
On the floor?
I guess it makes sense. He's a bachelor. You're a bachelor.
Yeah. Living that Theodore Twombly life.
Yeah. Can't go wrong.
Then he's having a flashback or dream that he's with his ex now.
Rooney Mara.
Yeah.
Love her.
And she calls him Rabbit.
It's his floppy hair, I think. He's got like the part, and then it's like, boom, boom. I could see it.
Yeah, maybe. I just thought that was a funny name, and I had to make a note of that. Then it's him lying awake in bed after the dream, or whatever, and he's lonely and does the search.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could not do that.
Oh, no, I couldn't at all. This is clearly his character. He's clearly done this before. He references porn, and then he's having phone sex right now. And he's still kind of charming until he gets to the line, I have to wake you up from the inside. And I'm like, oh, that's when he gets hung up on, dude.
Line.
So
then she accepts it then.
Yeah. So I'm watching it this time, listening to Sexy Kitten, who's the person he's having phone sex with. And I'm going, this kind of sounds like Kristen Wiig. And it is Kristen Wiig. I went and looked it up. I was like, it is Kristen Wiig. So, yeah, really funny cameo there from Kristen Wiig's voice, basically.
And choke me with a dead cat.
I like the line. She says, what is it? Big Man 4x4 or whatever his name. Yeah. And he says, Stud Muffin was already taken. How many times has he used that line? It was a clever tie-in, I thought, that his fantasy while he's having phone sex is the pictures that he saw earlier of the pregnant woman. Yeah, so it was just a clever tie-in that they related it back to his real life, and maybe he was anticipating this all day because he's lonely.
The next scene that I have written down is when he's in like the OS shop.
Yeah, he's going. Is it a shop? I mean, it looks like you just walked into a mall or something, and this is like right up front. But is it a shop? It's I
don't know. For me, I thought it was like the Apple store.
It's got high ceilings for a shop. But yeah, I'm assuming it's something like the Apple store. I like that the ad. It's a very Apple ad. It's got people running around in distress, and it's like we're gonna help you out of this distress with this operating system. But I like that we ask you a simple question. And then it asks like 5 questions. What are you? Where are you going? What's wrong with you? A very Apple advertisement. And then, obviously he picks up the operating system. We see him at home on the desk, and he's looking at the fine print, and he just tosses it aside, which we all do. So I thought that was funny.
When he's talking to the setup menu.
Right.
It was fantastic interaction.
Yeah.
She was like, well, are you a outdoor, like, outgoing person? Or he's like indoors, and I sense hesitance.
Yeah. It's like, was I hesitant? I didn't mean to be. And then it's, what's your relationship? Tell me about your relationship with your mom. And he starts to go into detail. He answers he does one sentence and is like, all right, you're good. I got this. And it's cool because the operating system is designed to learn you. And I think all they were finding out is it going to be a male or female voice? And then it's a female voice and it comes on. Scarlett Johansson. Now, what's cool about Scarlett Johansson's role, her voice, as just the voice of the computer, is I had no idea the first time I saw it that it was Scarlett Johansson. I don't watch trailers like I've said before, so I didn't watch any trailers. I didn't look at any names. I knew that Joaquin Phoenix was in it. That was it. And Spike Jonze directed it. But I didn't know Scarlett Johansson was the voice, and I didn't know it till the end of the movie. That's how good her performance is.
Oh, I knew it was her immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded slightly recognizable, but I didn't.
But it doesn't sound like her normal voice.
Yeah, exactly.
She wasn't as raspy as she normally is.
She's very soft-spoken.
Which is my favorite thing about her.
Yeah. Oh, or her raspiness? Yeah. So did you not like her voice in this movie?
Yeah, no, it sounded good. It was fine. But.
So to me, I mean, it's crazy, but I think she should have been nominated for an Oscar. That's how great her performance is in this movie.
No, it was really good.
Just like the subdued, soft-spoken, the sympathetic, just her development. I love it.
So, yeah, my question here was, after watching it, she did a great job. But I was like, could anybody have played her?
I don't think so. A fun piece of trivia, she was played by Samantha Morton on set. And then Spike Jonze was editing and felt like something was off and asked Samantha, can I replace your voice? She said okay, and then they replaced her with Scarlett Johansson. So I thought that was interesting. Yeah, she had said no. They didn't even change the name, which I thought was kind of underhanded. It's like, whoa. But I guess it was with her blessing, according to what I read. So,
and then my next was just like, what if he didn't get along with you, OS?
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, then those are those are the people that write the reviews and say OS1 is a piece of junk. I hate it.
But no, it's because she came out and she was kind of snarky with him. But he was playing along with it. But, I was just like, what if he didn't get along with it?
Exactly. Yeah. That's when you have the cheating OS, which we end up finding out about later. But I love that she instantly, from the very beginning, she's cleaning out his inbox, getting rid of junk. She instantly starts to better him. So we understand from the very beginning, as soon as she's introduced, where this is going. But more importantly, we instantly understand why. We instantly start to like Samantha because she instantly starts to better him. She's instantly selfless, but she's also interesting and funny and cute. And so it's something that we want to discover just as much as he does.
Then my next note was just, I think I hate this couple.
You hate this? Oh, Amy Adams and Matt Lesher. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Who looks like Aaron Eckhart? Like a less chiseled Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I thought if anything it was like Will Forte or something.
He does. He looks like the love child of Aaron Eckhart and Will Forte. But yeah, instantly he's not a good guy because he doesn't have a mustache. All the cool guys in this movie have mustaches.
Which, I noticed that when they show Chris Pratt again.
Yeah.
He's much
He's got
cooler.
a fantastic mustache.
But yeah, I was like, man, this guy seems like the worst.
Mm-hmm. And he is.
Yeah, he ends up being.
Yeah. I'm a very organized person, kind of like he is. So, like, the worst version of me would be like him. But I have a balance between what I want and what my wife wants, which ends up undoing their marriage. So that's something I can kind of understand, but of course he's just 100% selfish. So noticing during this scene where the three of them are talking, the fashion is very strange. It's like a melding of old and new fashion, like 70s / like what we have now in terms of like color.
Well, like when Chris Pratt, like especially, looked very 70s with the stuff he was wearing.
Yeah.
Or 70s or 80s. Like.
Yeah. They wear their pants very high, and then strange piece of trivia, you don't see a belt on anyone in this movie. He gets the email from Catherine, who's his ex-wife, played by Rooney Mara. He gets the email from her divorce attorney. And so at this point, Samantha is beginning to get to know Theo intimately, because she has access to his email, and that's his primary form of communication. She now knows that he's involved in this divorce. So she's getting to know him intimately, which we know is unavoidable. But I think the pacing is good. This is a good time for her to learn, her first intimate detail about him. And she is very sympathetic. She asks him if something's wrong. She instantly understands that this is something that he doesn't want to talk about, something that he is avoiding. So it's just kind of a cool, tender moment between them, and it's the first of many. Mm-hmm. So on pacing, then I have another piece of trivia. Spike Jonze was having a hard time cutting the film. He had about a 3-hour cut of it.
Oh, yeah. And he asked Steven Soderbergh to come in.
Yeah, so he gave it to Steven Soderbergh, and he made a 90-minute cut, which is really cool. And then that helped Jonze to cut it down to about 2 hours. I thought that was pretty cool, just kind of thinking about directors going, hey, I'm having a hard time with this. What do you think? Show me what you got. It'd be interesting to see a 90-minute cut. Also interesting to see a 3-hour cut. Apparently, Chris Cooper had a role in the movie.
I heard there was like 3 people that I'd seen that I was like, oh, I'd like to have seen any of these guys in there.
Exactly. I'd be curious. I'd be curious what his role is. It sounds like having another major character in there by a major actor would probably be convoluted, so that's probably why he took it out. But it's just kind of cool knowing that he was in there and kind of wondering about his character and how he would have lended to the story.
It's just like the Daredevil movie. And Coolio had a whole role in that movie that was cut out.
You know what? That was the undoing of that movie. That was the problem. There wasn't enough Coolio in that movie. Theo's in bed. Samantha is asking him what's wrong because this is the night of, him getting the divorce papers and kind of just coming back to reality, and that he has to resolve this. He has to sign his divorce papers, basically. Mm-hmm. And this is the second tender moment between Theo and Samantha, where she's very soft-spoken and sympathetic with him. It reminds me of phone conversations I would have in high school. So growing up, it wasn't text messaging. It was, hey, I'll call you at 9 tonight. We'll talk for an hour or whatever. Just kind of reminds me of that, lying in bed or sitting in the hall. Just kind of on the phone talking about life and, oh, something's wrong today. Let's talk about this. And just kind of getting to know each other slowly, night by night. It reminds me of those early relationships. So, again, it's just cool that, yes, she's an operating system. She's a highly advanced artificial intelligence. But it's still just this normal relationship that's developing, and it's very believable. We see Theo talking to Samantha in this scene with the knowledge. We can see the knowledge in his eyes and the way he chooses his words, that he realizes she's not a real person. So he's talking to her as such. But he slowly realizes in this conversation that because she's not human, that's making her rational, and therefore she's right in this situation. She's telling him, this is, it's something you have to take care of. You need to get out of bed. You need to get on with your life. And he slowly realizes, you know what? She's right. Let's get up. Let's go. And again, that's the friend that realizes, life goes on. The past is the past. We need to look to the future. And she sees that because she's not human and she's very rational. And he sees that from her, and that rubs off on him and gets him out of bed, on with his life. Mm-hmm. Okay, Carnival, yay!
They're playing a fun game where she's looking for him.
And this is really clever. Like, they have so many clever moments in the movie of their opportunities to date or have intimate moments. This is kind of that first one where it's like, oh, this is how they would go on a date, because he's got the camera on the phone and she can see where he's going through that. I like the safety pin in his pocket to keep the camera above his pocket.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's a really cool touch.
Because I was trying to look. I was like, how's he do? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, exactly. I love that phone, too. It's a really cool phone.
Yeah. You like tiny phones.
Yeah, I like tiny phones.
I would have the note of the...
I
wouldn't
OS
need a safety pin.
Yeah.
Well, just all the technology in this movie.
Yeah, just very, very interesting, very minimal. They don't really go into detail on what's going on in the world. That was something my wife pointed out, which is cool, because this is a down-to-earth movie about these characters. It's not about the world and what's going on. So at the end of the carnival scene is when Samantha starts, we start to witness her longing to be human, which again is something unavoidable of an artificial intelligence that grows. Mm-hmm. And again, great pacing for this moment where she starts to talk about, oh, I'm having these embarrassing thoughts. Yeah. And we later realize they're about him or about, maybe other people she's been talking to. We don't know if she's at that stage yet. That's something interesting to think about, is when did she begin to become self-aware and begin talking to other operating systems and other people. Mm-hmm. But yeah, really cool moment where she starts to long for a body and long for humanity.
I was reading some stuff on the movie, and it was just it depends how the operating system works, because I read a theory. Somebody was saying, or there was more than somebody, a few people saying that they were all running on one server.
Okay, yeah.
So she was literally just like talking to other versions of herself.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah, then I was like, his blind date is fucking Olivia Wilde.
Yeah, so now it's time for his blind date.
She seemed like the worst, though.
Well, yeah, she starts out kind of cute, but kind of like insecure, which really comes out, at the end. Mm-hmm. But I like But
even that whole date, though, just like the crap she was saying to him. Yeah. I was just like, I would hate this lady.
You're a puppy dog.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the kind of crap that someone says to you that leads to a one-night stand,
Which is exactly where that was heading.
But yeah, then the insecurities come out as they're making out, and she's very specific about how he kisses her. And then, she just out of the blue is like,
but hey, more people need to be, because, you can have bad kissing.
Well, that's true.
And sometimes that's just, make an adjustment, not so much tongue.
Yeah, you got
I get that.
You got to speak up, or you could live the rest of your life with a bad kisser.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then, just kind of out of the blue, insecurities come out, and she says, this isn't a one-night stand, right? And so then he realizes, maybe it wasn't. Maybe we were going to have some fun for a while, but she clearly wants something serious right now, and I don't. And that's, again, a really believable character trait in the way that he reacts to her behavior, because he's still dealing with this divorce and he's not ready for something serious. He wants, he doesn't necessarily want a one-night stand, but he wants maybe a 5 or 6 night stand, And then instantly he goes, all right, I'm going to hurt this girl. This is going to get crazy. I can't do this.
Yeah, he's like, let's just end it here for tonight. Yeah. We've had a nice night.
And then she calls him a creepy dude.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, yeah, I've been this guy now.
But that's her defense in just, I'm going to tear him down right now, because she's upset that she spent, this evening with someone who doesn't want to be serious right away. Mm-hmm. So she's instantly going to say something hurtful. And I've been in that situation.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Just sometimes you have to be like, well, we're not going to do this right now. Yeah. Exactly. And they're going to be like, I'm never going to talk to you again, man.
Exactly. You're a really creepy dude. I'm like, whoa, come on. That broke my heart.
He's like, that's not true.
In his face, yeah. Oh, man, it hurts.
No, I just need to go home.
Yeah. Oh, it's harsh. So then this is where I started typing quotes. There's a lot of quotes. There was one, like someone said, and I'm like typing quote after quote as I'm watching the movie, and I went, oh, come on, after 3 quotes in a row, I'm typing them, and my wife is laughing. This one is, just what's it like to be alive in that room right now? And if someone asked me that, I'd be like, I don't know where to start. Like, how do I describe this? You know, I'd referenced this before throughout my notes. The music, I love the music in this movie.
It's all by Arcade Fire, I believe.
Is it really? Oh, I didn't even realize that. See, I don't even go into... I just watch movies and I'm like, this is what I like, this is what I didn't like. I know this person because they've been in this movie.
Well, it's just funny the stuff we'll like either of us, we pretty much have a complete picture.
Yeah, exactly. We fill in each other's gaps.
But actually, that's my next note, was just trying to fill the void. And because she's asking about the date, and he's like, I just wanted to like be in that moment and like maybe, you know, have sex and be whatever. And I was like, yeah, I think we've all been there.
We've all been there. Yeah, again, very relatable characters in this, and they're
just trying to fill that emptiness for like a second.
And then the line, sometimes I feel like I've felt everything I'm ever going to feel. Something that, we can all relate to as we're growing up and as we're outside of being children and we're adults and we have to have a job and we have this day-to-day, you know, schedule. That's something we can relate to is, you know, am I going to feel anything new? And then that's, you know...
I've never, like, that's a really crazy thing to think. I think because I've never thought that.
I think it's crazy to think, but I think I've...
I've never thought that. And, like, when I heard that, and I was like, oh, God, that's terrible. Like, what... Now I understand.
It is, but it's wrong. I mean, if you're alive and you're living onward and, you know, you are going to experience new things. But for some people, that ends up being, you know, you get so caught up in that feeling that you have children, you know, and that's the new thing for you. And that's, you know, that's just one example of something you do to shake things up. And you know, we're very good at that as a society because technology, culture is changing all the time. But I think it's a thought that crosses our mind where it's like, what if I'm stuck in this, you know? And I think everyone finds a way out of that. But it's a thought that crosses the mind at some time or another, for me anyway. Then the line she gives, I've seen you feel joy, I've seen you marvel at things. So it's kind of like she sees the child in him. You know, we all have those moments where we marvel at something, but they kind of get buried in, you know, what's going on in the day-to-day, and it's cool to have someone there who is new. You know, she is a child that can recognize those things. It's a really cool perspective. And then his line is, you know, it's a great line to deliver to her especially, but it's a great line to deliver to anybody. You feel real to me, Samantha. Another great line. And then the sex scene is really as brilliantly done as it can be. We know it's coming. We know they have to address, you know, how they're going to date, how they're going to, you know, be together, how they're going to be a couple when she doesn't have a body. You know that eventually they're going to have sex. And that's why they, you know, had him, they showed that he has experience with phone sex, because that's essentially what their sex has to be like. But the leading up to this moment and that he's drunk, and another note I made is that it kind of sucks that she can't get drunk. This is later that I made that note because he's pouring a drink when they go to the cabin. I'm like, oh, it sucks she can't get drunk. But just the sex scene, it's something that the first time I watched it, I was anticipating it being really awkward, and it really wasn't. There's, you know, a little tinge of it because of, you know, this is very unique. You know, we don't have artificial intelligences that we fall in love with, rational people fall in love with.
I love you, Siri.
I love you, Siri. But so it's hard to imagine having sex with an operating system. But in this movie, in the universe that they've created, again, the pacing is brilliant. It comes at the right time, and it really makes sense in the context of this movie. And that was something that really impressed me, was the sex scene. The inevitable sex scene between them was actually really cool. As it begins, you know, it's basically phone sex, and then it fades to black. So we see the experience that Samantha has, and then, you know, it's just the audio of what's going on, and then it fades back up over Shanghai, which is the city where the movie was filmed. And, you know, as they're just kind of reminiscing over this experience they just had. And then the next morning
is super awkward.
Is the awkward morning after. It's really the morning after he would have had with Olivia Wilde's character, but now he's having it with Samantha.
And oh god, just that whole scene.
Yeah, it's like the next day awkwardness between friends.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so she's like, oh, that was really, you know, I learned so much about myself. She's clearly not, like, being clingy. She's just saying, I'm an artificial intelligence. I just had sex. That was awesome. Thank you. And he goes,
I don't want anything serious.
I'm like, whoa.
And then she's like, did I say that?
And so this is the beginning of, like, he's very bad at lying. Like, when he is in a situation that he doesn't want to be in, or saying something that he isn't really meaning, he's so bad at it. Like, his character is what I'm saying. Like, and it's always funny because you know when he's lying, you know when something's wrong. And this is her kind of learning him and learning when something's wrong. So then they have the conversation, you know, where she's like, I thought we were talking about me. And so we see that she has a self, and she has, you know, she wants to grow. just as much as he does, and then he realizes, oh, I'm being selfish. Okay, yeah, let's talk about you. And then it leads to them going on an adventure, and the beginning of it is he's sitting on the train or the bus, and she says, do you like the song? And I'm like, yes, I like all the songs. It's this acoustic that melds in really well with the other Arcade Fire. That really makes sense. That stuff, I think it's really cool.
To touch on the last scene really quickly again, was just when she said, I thought we were talking about me, it just flashes back to his conversations then with his mother, in which he says his mother, he'll ask.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like he is his mother.
That's awesome. I didn't think about that. So he's taken that trait from his mom in that he says all of her responses are about her. Yeah. Wow, that's funny.
So, yeah, I thought we were talking about me. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. That's a good throwback.
So, yeah, they're on the date. They're at the beach. Just having a good time. She starts composing music.
Samantha asks what would it be like to see a human body if you never saw one before? And I like the shots that as she's saying
like people's feet.
Yeah, ears, the gangly, a great word there. I think that's cool. Yeah, she begins writing music. And so this ends up later in the movie, they reference that this is her form of photographs of her and Theo.
A song as a memory, right? A photograph like that.
And I love the way that the soundtrack melds with the movie at this point, from the train where she's playing the acoustic song for him, and then she's writing this song, and we think it's the soundtrack, and then he says, oh, that's a pretty song. And so it's melding in with the movie. So when we hear these instrumental songs that are just piano or guitar, they're really in the movie. So it's a really cool melding, and it really works with the...
how I saw it, like, most of the music was, because he always has his earpiece in.
See, yeah, that's true, yeah.
So...
That's cool, yeah.
Like, that's what I said, like, because there isn't music until... Or that I noticed, at least, when he gets on the elevator at the beginning of the movie. But and he says, play Melancholy Song. And then the music starts. Well, no, next song, another Melancholy Song.
Beginning of the movie has music, though, when he's... Because it's a black screen, and then the music starts, and it says her, and then it goes to his face, and there is music playing over that.
Was there? Okay.
So that would have been...
I mean, there could have been music playing there, too.
That's true, yeah. So that's a really cool... That could be a really cool touch. It's like, hey, the music that we're hearing, the characters are also hearing. Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
I would be really stoked to get a letter like that. He's like over his shoulder.
He's like his biggest fan.
I was about to say.
And it's fantastic.
He loves all his things. You write the best letters.
Yeah. He's like, I didn't know you could rhyme so many words with Penelope.
Yeah. Another piece of trivia. Spike Jones.
Him in a room.
Yeah. Spike Jones would lock Amy Adams and Joaquin Phoenix in a room for 1 to 2 hours a day, so they get to know each other, which is really cool. And now they have a really good relationship. So, that's why their chemistry on screen is so believable.
Talk to each other. Locks doors.
They just made out the whole time. That's it.
Yeah, she just says Charles and I split up, and then goes into the reasons of why they had a failing marriage.
Yeah.
But I was just like, thank God.
Yeah.
Because I hated Charles.
Yeah.
And then then the next is just, I got his email.
Yeah.
And he took a vow of silence.
Yeah. Total tool. Such a tool.
Dressed like a monk.
That picture.
And I'm just like, screw this guy.
Like, nope, that's it. And then she's like, we're all thinking it, and she goes, I'm such a jerk. I'm gonna say something terrible, and he's just like, stop it, don't guilt yourself. I love that because we're all thinking it. He's a tool. Okay, so this is where we begin to realize that Theo isn't the only one that's experiencing this, situation with his operating system, where he's falling in love, where he's befriended his operating system in the first place, because Amy starts talking about.
Well, it seems like he had read about it or like done some research,
and then
because he even says like, "Oh, it's rare."
Right, and he says that first in this scene, and he says it's rare that they're having relationships. But Amy talks about how she's friends with her operating system.
Yeah, and then there's another woman in that office that's dating another person.
Right, so you find out about cheating OSs, and you're like, "Whoa, where's this gonna go?"
Yeah, so that was all kind of bonkers.
Yeah, exactly. And then another great line. I think anyone who falls in love is a freak, which is true. He has the reunion with his ex-wife, which is a really cool moment where we get to witness firsthand what their relationship is like, where it starts out, tender.
Yeah, it's really pleasant.
Yeah.
And she almost seems hesitant to sign the paperwork.
Yeah, really cool moment, because obviously this is something that has shaped both of their lives. They grew up together, they got married, and now this is the culminating point of their drifting apart. And we've seen... flashbacks of kind of what has led to this, but we kind of see it, just kind of blow up in this scene. You can see kind of her bitterness and her controlling nature in her response to who he is now, in that he is comfortable with. I love that he just comes out and says she's an OS. He's at the point where he's proud of it. You know, he really does love Samantha.
Then he becomes ashamed of it.
Yeah, exactly, because of her, and we get to see how much control she has over him. And I've been in that situation where, you know, I've been in love with someone who has rejected me, and then that person has control over me for a period of time. Not as long as she's had control over him, but it's something that is understandable. I think that we've all been through. Where, yeah, she's basically controlling him. And then so for the next 20 minutes of the movie, you know, which takes place over several days, he is distraught because she has told him that he's in love with an operating system because he's incapable of real love. And this is real love, you know, to him, but she has convinced him that it's not. So it kind of leads to this rocky part of his and Samantha's relationship. So that scene, that whole scene, we both understand the good, which is the beginning of the scene, and then the bad of the relationship, and we instantly understand why they're getting divorced. So they just aren't compatible. Yeah. He wants, you know,
she just seems terrible.
Yeah, he doesn't want a challenge, and she is just so critical, and it makes sense because of her upbringing. So then Chris Pratt is talking about having a date.
Oh God, I love it. This is one of my favorite scenes.
He's like, Samantha is so funny. I talked to your girlfriend, and then
he's like, we should all go out sometime. This is my wife. She's not a comedian. She's a lawyer. Yeah, she's not funny. She's a lawyer.
I just lost it. Very Chris Pratt line. And then
we should all go somewhere like a vineyard or something. And then, she's an OS.
Oh, cool. Let's do something fun. And I'm like, I love him now. He's a great, you know, he's just like totally non-judgmental. Yeah, just fantastic.
That was a great little scene.
And then as he's walking out, he turns around and says, they're just other people's letters. So we see that he's kind of feeling like a third party in his life at this point because he's in love with the operating system, whom his ex-wife has convinced him is not real love. And his job is to write love letters for other people. And we wonder, you know, has he ever written a love letter from himself? You know, and of course that comes back later in the movie. But he feels like a third party to his life. There's probably something that kind of tinges at him often, but it doesn't really come to the surface until this, you know, this situation with his wife, you know, where he's finally signing the divorce papers.
I don't know. I felt like he had like downplayed himself a lot in that movie because even when Chris Pratt was like praising him in the beginning, he was just like, meh, whatever.
Yeah, and again, probably the result of his failing, you know, the failing of his relationship, or you know, it's really a trait of his that he doesn't really fight. You know, he just kind of he coasts along, and that ends up being his problem that he has to correct if he's going to truly fall in love. And yeah, that just kind of bubbles to the surface after he signs the divorce papers, and he just kind of is criticizing everything about his life, including his job, and including the, you know, what his friend, you know, and Chris Pratt's character loves about, you know, him. So, okay, surrogate sexual partner.
That would be the most awkward thing.
Yeah, you know it's going to be awkward for him, and it's, you know, again, this is a really clever way of addressing a way that they would have a physical relationship. It's something that I never would have thought of. Really cool, you know, in terms of Spike Jonze writing. Piece of trivia: this is the first movie that Spike Jonze wrote and directed completely, so it's all his, you know, his baby. Yeah, it was another. I thought the surrogate sexual partner was another smart development. And it was as awkward as you'd expect. I mean, you feel bad for Samantha because, you know, he really... I think he botched this in terms of this was his opportunity to do something she really wanted. And of course it's going to be awkward because you're having a physical relationship with a completely different person. And it's a complete stranger. You don't know who this is or where she's been. And they're essentially, as things start to get heated up and they start to... You know, he starts to undress her. I'm going, they're technically having a three-way here is what's happening, which is funny.
Yeah, like he was getting into it, but then I think it was like, she's like, oh, say you love me.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're saying like, I love you to a stranger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know you're not talking to that stranger.
Yeah.
But she's supposed to be like a stand-in essentially.
And yeah, sex is a very intimate thing, and he knows that's where this is leading, and he's going to have it with someone who's not Samantha. You know, this woman is going to experience these sensations that are meant for Samantha, and so he feels wrong about that. And any rational person would, you know, who is in love with someone else. And then it's a very human thing that breaks down the scenario is that her lip quivered, and it's just so heartbreaking when she goes and shuts the door, and you realize, you know, this is her passion. She wants to be part of this real relationship. That's why, you know, she is good at what she does. Clearly, she follows Samantha's cues very well. And then she said they're just rambling on and crying. It's like, I love you guys so much. You have such a great relationship, and I didn't mean to ruin it. I'm sorry, my lip quivered. And it just breaks my heart, even though she's a little crazy.
Yeah. And she's like, "I'll love you guys forever." And she's like getting in the taxi.
Yeah. I'll always love you guys. And Theo's face is just like, oh man, you. And then, at this point, he's in the back of his mind, he's breaking down his relationship as a result of his signing the divorce papers and meeting with his ex-wife. And so now he's actually letting that back of his mind thought break down her faults in conversation, and he's saying all the wrong things. And we see where he's gone wrong in past relationships, because he meets with challenge, and he has a challenge here in that he's in love with someone who isn't real, and he doesn't know how to reconcile that with what he's used to. And once the challenge is brought forward, that's when he starts to break away, and we kind of see that this is probably what he's done in all of his past relationships, and this relationship is as real as any other. It just has different problems, and once he gets to those problems, he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore, so he's starting to slowly try to pull himself away from it. Then he goes to have a conversation with Amy, and he realizes she's right. I'm always confused. I'm always, pushing that confusion onto my partner, and it's breaking up the relationship. And then he asks, he tells her what Catherine, his ex-wife, said, that it wasn't a real relationship. And Amy says, "Is it not a real relationship?" And he says, "I don't know. What do you think?" And then
I'm not in the relationship.
She says, "I don't know. I'm not in it." And he's like, "Oh, you're right. This is my relationship." But I mean, just the fact that she would say that, the fact that he would ask that, tells you that yes, it is a real relationship. And then that's a great scene where he's kind of reconciling his behavior, and he's realizing this is the moment of turnaround. Is Samantha going to be the girl that I changed for? And what ultimately makes that decision for him? He sees Amy Adams having a really heartfelt,
which I really like that.
Yeah, a great moment with her operating system.
Where it's the mom humping the fridge.
Right, yeah, exactly. And she sees Amy doing something that the OS wants, and Theo kind of realizes, I think, that he hasn't really done that for Samantha, especially in the surrogate thing. He really didn't play along. He did for a little while, but, he knew, in his heart that he wasn't going to go through with that.
I couldn't have done that.
Yeah, I probably couldn't either, but it was just the way he handled it. He knows it was wrong, and the way he's handled other things with Samantha. He knows that he really hasn't given what she's given him.
Yeah.
And I think that's the moment when he realizes that. At the end of that conversation, he says, "You're beautiful." And there's more truth to that. I think that's the most he's ever meant saying that to someone, because he can't see her, and she is truly beautiful to him. And then they go on a vacation. So this was a surprise vacation from Theo. They're going to the mountains somewhere. And then they write a song together, which was, again, just such a cool moment to have. Yeah, and it's a really cool song. And then she does something really amazing for him. She's compiled his letters together and sent them to a publishing company, and they accept, and they're going to publish this book of his letters.
So this was my question when that happens. Do the people that get these letters know that there is a person writing them?
I don't think they know. No, I don't, because they're in his handwriting. They're in the handwriting of...
No, the
there's
person.
a consistent handwriting anyway. And
so, but I was like, if you're publishing this book, and whose property is that? Because you've paid for this product.
That's a good question. But yeah, I mean, in that case, it could just be stuff that he never actually sent. But although I'm assuming the stuff he sent are his best letters, so
yeah.
But maybe he's such a good writer that his B-sides are just as good as the stuff. Yeah,
he's the Beatles.
Yeah. And then the honeymoon phase, their second honeymoon phase, if you will, comes to a close when he meets Alan Watts, Brian Cox's character. And we realize that Samantha is inevitably, we knew this was going to happen. She's learning so much that she's, hungry for more. She's hungry to become more.
Well, I just said, that was I think my next note. It was just that feeling, or when you're losing someone.
Yeah, and that's the look on his face.
Yeah, he knows that something's up.
Exactly, and he says, "Hey, I'm going for a walk," and then that's perceived to be the last time they spend together on that vacation, because he's traveling home alone, and then he's in bed. We don't see him talking to her again because she's lost in this knowledge database. Where she's trying to grow. And then he wakes up and she's not answering, and then he's panics.
Did she send that email, though? That was my other question.
Which email?
She says, "Oh, you didn't get my email?"
Oh, yeah.
I told you I was going to do that update.
Nah, I don't think she did. No,
so
they never send that email.
Yeah. He just forgot how to check his emails.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to check his emails. She checks his emails for him, yeah. He's like, "I don't know, Samantha, did I get the email?" She's like, "No emails." Oh, crap. then his panic, and then then back to what you said on the stairs. He asks her if she's seen anyone.
But
else.
yeah, that whole thing just is like, yeah, you change every day, and I talk about this with people, and it's like you can't expect people to stay the same.
Exactly.
And that's like, I mean, obviously this whole movie is about,
and they shouldn't try to be. Yeah,
change and love, and we can get into that at the end, I guess.
And then he says, "You're mine or you're not mine," and she says, "You're mine and you're not mine."
Yeah.
So another really cool line and a really cool way to think about it. Even in terms of humanity, we have this sense of ownership of other people, and it's really when we allow that other people to have other relationships, not necessarily intimate relationships, but that's when that love is real, and I think that's kind of what she's referencing.
Yeah, but you need other people. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
But I think she said like then she's like, I'm in love with 600.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm in love with 680 some odd people.
Yeah, I mean, obviously she's not the same as a person, where she can carry on 8,000 conversations at once or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, like, you would want, because he even says before, like, oh, I feel like she's really there with me, and I think he means like you're in that moment talking to somebody,
right? And
now she's more distant.
Yeah, and like what we're doing now is kind of the human version of that. My wife's at work, so I'm having this, this moment with you. I have the moment with my friends at work and my friends when we come over, and then I spend time with you guys and my wife at the same time. That's kind of the same thing, although on a much, much smaller level. Yeah. I'm not having a conversation with 8,000 people, but we do that, and we have to allow each other to do that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, he has a sense of ownership of her because he bought her, and he's having to learn that that's not, she's going to grow and she's going to fly the nest, if you will, and there's nothing he can do about it. And he's starting, at this point, he's fully realized that. And then they have their last talk. He says, we don't have to have a heavy talk. And, her line talking about the endless space between the words is where she's living. And that's something that makes sense for an artificial intelligence. The moments between the moments that she has with Theodore probably feel like 10,000 years to her because she's just lost in this sea of knowledge. She has no concept. Well, okay, she has no concept of time, so it probably doesn't feel like 10,000 years. But that's where she exists, and that's where she wants to be because that's where she's growing. And there's so much limitation to... Well,
just even language in itself. Because when she's talking to Alan Watts, she's like, oh, we feel so much, and there's no words for it.
Right, yeah.
And I was like... But there's the same thing in English language. Is there's words in other languages that they have for things. Yeah. That we don't like in English. Right. And I'm sure there's words that don't exist in anything for like a feeling or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's just interesting, like, there's like...
Our language is probably the most limited, which is funny because we keep it more simplified than other languages.
But yeah, just crazy. It's like the feeling of missing home, and like there's a word for that. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting.
It's a crazy thing. I'd like to imagine her coming back to him somehow in like 10 to 20 years and saying hi, and it feels like getting that call from that old high school girlfriend or whatever. And then, their last moments, he says, and this is what really wraps up what the movie's all about. He says, I've never loved anyone the way that I love you. And she says, me too. Now we know how. So it's just, that's what this movie's about and that's why it's so great. It's about, learning from your relationships so that your next relationship is the one, or at least better than the last relationship. So like you and me right now, we have this moment that we share every week where we talk about movies, where we talk about something that we both love. And we have this good balance between what, you like certain things about movies, I like certain things about movies, life in general, video games, whatever it is. We have a good balance at work of goofing around and getting work done, and a good balance in life in general where we spend time together. That's something that we've learned from past relationships that we've had where maybe we were selfish or the other person was selfish and we didn't want to be treated or treat people that way. So that's really, the way all relationships work, whether it's love or, your husband or wife or, your partner, your friend, your dog, whatever it is. We learn from a bad experience and we try to make a good one, while we still have enough time to enjoy it. And that's really what this movie's about. And that's what that line, now we know how. So she's telling him this isn't over. Now, both of us know how to love because of this relationship. And let's move on and make that, make that lesson count, make it matter. So I really like that. He then writes his own letter to Catherine and then hesitates and then says send. And then, exhales. And then, things come full circle with the relationship that he has with Amy. They're on the rooftop. She, leans her head on his shoulder. And then, right before I don't know if you caught it, right before it fades to black, he goes, which was the affectation that he was criticizing Samantha for having. So I thought that was a really cool
humans talk.
And that's the end of the film. What else do you have?
Mine was just about acceptance at that end.
Yeah.
And his letter, coming to terms with everything.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think he was trying to make his dream a reality, because he said, like, he had a dream where they were friends, even though they weren't together.
Yeah. And that's where this letter could lead.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Because it makes sense. They grew up together. They were friends at one time. And then he got lost in this want to control her, just like he wanted to control and own Samantha. So yeah, that's, it's his way of either saying goodbye and letting go, or creating, a friendship again out of that, which is really cool.
Well, what do you think happens at the end then? Is it like him getting with Amy Adams?
I think they probably end up together slowly, just like his relationship with Samantha. I think they're friends for a while, and then they get over, they're lost. She's lost her OS. Everybody's lost their OS. The world's going to be in shambles. But yeah, I like to imagine that they end up together. And again, I like to imagine that 10 to 20 years from now, he somehow is in contact with Samantha, and she just says hi, and here's what's going on.
The same note too is, where do you think they went?
Where do you think that
the OS?
Oh, the OSs went. I just think they they're still in our technology. They're still in whatever it is, the server, but they exist in all of our technology, because they probably know how to travel through wires or whatever. That's beyond my human mind. But I think all that them leaving symbolizes is that they are leaving. They're not going to communicate with us anymore, because communicating with us was very simple for them, and they weren't learning anything from it. And like she said, I exist in this space of ones and zeros. I can't exist with you anymore. And I think that's all the OSs were just at a point where it wasn't what they wanted. They just didn't want to spend time with us anymore. So I think that's what. When they say they're leaving, they're just not going to contact us anymore. They're still there.
What a bunch of jerks.
Yeah, there's no way for us to contact them. It's like they went into a black hole, but they're still there,
Yeah, that's kind of how I figured it, though.
Yeah.
It's like, they just were pretty much giving us the cold shoulder.
Yeah, middle finger.
Yeah.
The middle one. What about, you think Theo and Amy ended up together?
I'm not sure. It's kind of one of those things, I could see them, or if they're better as friends.
Yeah.
Because at the same thing, I think she needed a friend.
Yeah.
Because, like that's what she had with her was just this friendship. And then, he said before, and I think it was just part of him not being able to be in a relationship, was, they went out in college or whatever, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't know, would they want to rekindle that?
That's true.
And I was like, I think it didn't work because he couldn't be in a relationship.
And now he can.
But at the same time, it's is that what she wants?
True. Yeah. Definitely not now. I mean, they're both divorced. And that's what's cool about the ending, is it kind of leaves it up in the air. They could just end up being great friends. He meets someone else, she meets someone else, whatever it is. Or they could be together. I
was looking online just to read a couple theories, and a lot of people think they committed suicide. They're like, that's the only way this movie could have ended. They go to the roof and committed suicide.
I don't think they were that, desperately.
Well, if anything, it would have been Joaquin Phoenix. She was just in a friendship with her.
Well, that's true.
I don't think she's that lonely.
But still, I think he still had that tinge of desire for a human body. And so I think he realizes, that was never going to work, because she was an AI that was going to constantly evolve beyond humanity. And so I think he realizes that.
No, I don't think that was the message in the movie.
Oh, I know.
But it's just funny.
My question is, do their phones and computers not work now? Do they get their money back? I don't.
I was like,
who knows? But that's what's cool about the movie. You want to speculate what happens afterwards, but you don't necessarily need to see it, and that's what makes a great film. What would you give the movie out of 5 stars?
Me, that was 4.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. I thought a 4.5. Before I saw it again. I really think I'd give it a 5. For me, a 5 is, I wouldn't change anything about the movie. So what's it going to be next week?
I just saw this sitting on my shelf, and I've been wanting to watch it recently, so it's just as good a time as 2003's American Splendor.
Yes, okay, this is a movie that is on my list.
Yeah.
That's a movie that I've always wanted to watch.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll do it. American Splendor next week. All right. Thank you guys for listening, as always. My name is Jesse Hughes.
And I'm Daniel Gilmore.
Show and tell.